Welcome to Unleashed. I'm James, joined along with
Ron McDonald.
once again, and today we are going to talk about everyone's favorite new character, everyone's favorite theories on Rey Skywalker, Kenobi, Palpatine, Calrissian, Organa. Who am I missing? Well, we know for a fact, we said this a couple weeks ago on the show, that she is Rey Quaternaros.
Yes, that's the one.
She's the daughter of pod racing legend Ben Quaternaros. By the way, theory for you. I don't think this is a theory. I think this is a fact. Ben Quaternaros changed the galaxy forever. Without Ben Quaternaros, Anakin Skywalker would have not been taken from Watto, because because what we think is that Sebulba is the best pod racer, but in reality it was actually Ben Quaternaros was the best pod racer. This is based on absolutely no facts. This is just me talking.
And the N64 game that's based off of.
I know. This is based off of Ben Quaternaros was the greatest pod racer of them all, and what happened was the night before the Mutiv Classic, Sebulba did something to Ben Quaternaros' pod that would assure Sebulba the victory. However, Sebulba was not did not believe in Anakin's abilities until the day of, when he decided to sabotage Anakin's pod race. But it was too late. He did not do enough, but he did enough to Ben Quaternaros, who would have won. And if he won, Watto would have the Queen's ship and Anakin and Shmi Skywalker. Fact for the day. That is how it happened. So Rey Quaternaros is our topic for today.
When are we getting that book? About Ben Quaternaros.
Oh my God. Disney, Lucasfilm, get on that. Del Rey Publishing. I'm looking at you. I don't care who you get to write it. Just get it done. Anyway, let's go on. So we're going to talk about Rey today. And there's a theory going around that has been going around for quite a long time. When we first started this podcast back in August, we started a Facebook page. And a friend of mine, Sean, said, we put a poll question up. Who is Rey? And then we put like Skywalker, Kenobi, Palpatine, Force Babe, whatever. We put like a bunch of different options, and he said none. And that was his answer, was none. And I go, okay. He goes, I think that Rey is a clone of Luke's hand. I like your face. A lot of people do believe this theory, though, and I say this, and I have said this before, and I've said this on the podcast before, and I'm going to say it again. I do not believe any theories, but I do not believe any theories. I'm okay with whatever you throw at me, because I think whenever we find out the truth behind any of this, as big as it can be or as small as it can be, it's all going to fit the story, and it's all going to be entertaining. And don't let any of the speculation ruin December 16th, 14th,
18th? No, I don't know.
Don't let it ruin The Last Jedi, is what I'm saying. But anyway, we're going to go on to Luke's hand. So the original script for The Force Awakens had Luke's hand floating through space with the lightsaber, and this was all cut. And so many have speculated that somehow Sheev was there on Bespin and took his hand or something and cloned it to create to create Rey. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you know about this theory? Can you expand on this at all?
So from what I know, there was some type of weird. The weirdest thing that I get caught up on when I read this theory was the fact that they were saying that not only is she a clone of Luke, but the fact that she's actually a man, because Luke is a man, and that this theory could mean that.
No, see, when we did this fun video on here about how she could be a clone of Palpatine, and my feeling on that, and people were like, "Well, you're saying she's a man?" And I was like, "No, I'm saying Jurassic Park, they're all girls.
No,
they're
I
all
know.
females on Jurassic Park. Like it's just sex doesn't matter when you're cloning something. Like you can probably control the sex of
just switch a couple of X and Y chromosomes.
Well, that's the thing. You could do right? Like we could do it in modern medicine. I think why can't they do it in a galaxy far, far away?
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Anyways,
but yeah, that seems to be a thing that's caught up with people, and I kind of think it's weird too. Like it's like if you're automatically assuming with this theory that she has to be a man, then that's so weird. But the fact that we talked about it a week ago. The fact, if you're going to say that Rey is a clone of Luke's hand, that's such a sci-fi-ish type of perspective to take again. It's like, it's going back to, clones and whatnot, manifesting into people's bodies and all that type of stuff. It's a very big change to make from what Star Wars has been so far.
Well, we talked about a couple of weeks ago on the show about Kylo Ren and how Snoke could be using his body as a vessel. So maybe they're going in a totally sci-fi direction. We don't know. Personally, the clone theory is not my favorite of them all.
No.
Neither is the mind wipe. I feel like they're both kind of sloppy, lazy, predictable thing. Like, why would he clone Luke? Like, why would the Emperor clone? We're like, Luke is the greatest Jedi of them all, but the Emperor didn't think that.
Oh, Luke wanted. Oh no, yeah. I guess it was Darth Vader that wanted to recruit Luke more than the Emperor.
Well, they might retcon and be like, the Emperor actually really, really. Well, no, the Emperor does say.
No, but in that scene in The Empire Strikes Back, it seems like Darth Vader's the one pushing for it. Obviously, later in Return of the Jedi, the Emperor does want Luke, but in that scene, it seemed like Vader.
Well, according to this, it would be the retconning would be that Luke, that Palpatine was there on Bespin for some random reason. He was hiding under the trash. I don't know.
You just got to take his vacations from time to time, right?
Like, he was like, Cloud City is like a great place.
He's got to use the vacation days.
Lando's grandfather was on the Senate with me, and we go way, way back.
Yeah, where I was just enjoying a nice pint.
I always thought Rey was the granddaughter of C.O. Bibble.
Yeah, well... To me, like
this?
Getting back,
it can only mean one thing.
Of course,
invasion.
We're just going off the rails here. This is God.
Well, and you know what though? It is gone, but that's how the Rey theories have gone. Like Rey has been connected to everybody.
To me, I hold this theory on the same one that I've heard, where it's Rey is actually a reincarnation of Anakin. I find that one a little bit over the top as well. Like
I'm not into
whether she's the chosen one. That one I could get.
Yeah, behind, I'm okay with more than just being Anakin.
Yeah, but if she's Anakin, that's a little bit too much for me to grasp my head around. That one's just a little ludicrous to me, similar to this one.
I really think that Rey's origin story, when we find it all out, it's going to be very, very simple. I said it a couple weeks ago. I've said it even further back. I think that I said this on the podcast, on the Rey and Snoke Connection podcast. I said Rey could just be born from the light. She could have a mother and a father, but I think she could be just born from the light. And if she is born from the light, her story, she could just be a nobody. And the people she's waiting for, they are not important. They are of no importance to us. Kind of like in A New Hope, when Luke, your father was a Jedi and he was killed by he was killed by Darth Vader, blah, blah, blah. That's all we need to know. Later we find out there's a lot more to it, but at that moment, all that matters to us is, Luke's father was a Jedi and he was killed.
Right.
The end. That's Luke's story. And now he has to go on his hero's journey. And now, so we have Rey. Somebody, Winterstar brought this up to me that apparently that the ship that she waits for apparently might crash. So maybe one of her parents or whoever there is dead. So let's just say the ship goes because they have to hide her from some kind of galactic war, or they're in trouble or something. So they hide Rey on Jakku, but hiding around Jakku is weird too because it's shrouded in the dark side. But anyway, we'll get into that as we go on. So they throw her on Jakku, they go up, and they get blown up. And so now Rey is left on Jakku waiting for her parents,
who aren't going to come ever.
Who are never going to come. And that's the whole point, is that they're never going to come. Mm-hmm. And so her parents aren't important to the plot whatsoever, except for the fact that they left her there and will never appear. But because they say, "I'll come back for you, sweetheart," because that's what they meant. They did mean to go back, but now they can't because they've passed away.
So, do you think that without a 100% in the scene in Force Awakens, when she sees the ship take off, the people inside that ship are definitely Rey's parents? Or do you?
I'm going to say for right now, yeah. for this argument here, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
Whether or not, I have no idea, and I don't know. And the thing is, though, is just like I said with Luke's father was killed in A New Hope, I have no reason to believe it's not her parents at this point, which is what I think they want, which is what I kind of think they want us to feel, but also feel like people have taken this as this whole thing because we haven't learned who Rey's parents are, but we have. There are people that left her there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that's the idea, but I kind of think that there's a possibility that Rey may have the parents, but the parents weren't exactly the people that dropped her off on the planet. Perhaps,
that's
perhaps it was, let's say for the sake of it, Luke is not her father, but he's the one that dropped her off on the planet, and that her parents left in some other type of way, like similar to how at the end of Revenge of the Sith, Luke and Leia were together, but they got split up, right? So perhaps the parents went somewhere else, and Luke just literally went just to.
What if Han dropped her off? Okay. Han drops her off. I'll come back for you one day, sweetheart. Flies away. Never plans on going back. Thinks someone's going back for her. I don't know, or maybe no one ever is. But he stays in the area. He doesn't actually. Remember, he says that he's tracking the Falcon or whatever. But let's say that's a lie, and he's actually just keeping his eye on Rey from a distance the whole time, and he's on that freighter there for a reason.
And because he's also looking for the Falcon, and perhaps
no, he's not looking for the Falcon. He knows where the Falcon is. He knows it's with Rey. But when they both go, he's like, "Well, Chewie, it's go time."
Interesting. Yeah, so that would imply that he does, in fact, the whole time in every interaction with Rey was him knowing that she's.
And I've said this before, and I've been chastised for it in the comments before, that he always gives her a look.
Yeah, no, he does.
Always gives her a look, and it could be, I'm impressed with her, or look what she's become, or it could be anything. I'm not saying it's one thing or another, but for this argument's sake, yes, he's giving her that look because it's like, yeah, that's the girl that I abandoned on Jakku.
See, it's a really tricky thing because again, this movie's directed by J.J. Abrams, and I've watched a lot of J.J. Abrams shows and a lot of things that he does, and he puts so much stuff in there just for the sake of misdirection.
Oh, yes, which I'm not a huge fan of.
Yeah, no, I know.
Not that I'm not a huge fan of what he does, but I'm not a huge fan of tricking people, just tricking audiences for the sake of tricking them. Which is why I hope everything has a payoff.
I believe that
big or as small as the payoff is, I hope that there is a reason for everything that happens, even if it's just to get to the next step.
He sets up a lot of different things, but the thing is that people give him flack for, like, a lot of times, like, where he sets up a lot of things that don't ever get paid off. The thing is that even though he's developed shows like Lost and Fringe and whatnot, that both have answers that never come to fruition, he's literally only really involved in those shows for, like, at most one season.
And I would also argue that it's harder. You set something up in a show in season 1 or 2, and then the show, you don't know how long it's going to go, so you're like, when's the payoff going to happen? And then all of a sudden, a show evolves into... Like, shows always evolve into something that you never foresee because things happen that audiences pick up on and that writers kind of grasp onto. And they're like, well, we didn't really plan on this, but the audience is really connecting with this, so we should expand that. And then all of a sudden, some of the other things kind of get put on the back burner. And then eventually the show's off the air and they're like, well, we never got to the back burner because we kept putting stuff here and it kept getting hot. No, and whereas these movies, though, everything is there.
Yeah.
Like, it should all be laid out. Now, things can develop and change and whatever, but I think the foundation is set. And I think it started with that. And Rian Johnson asked him not to include things in it, and he asked him to include things into it. And, they probably disagreed on some and agreed on some. And so that's why some answers probably we weren't given right away. We're going to get them in episode 8, possibly episode 9, and some things we might never get. But the Rey thing needs to be addressed.
See, that's the thing is that there's sometimes they set things up and they know where they're going for the most part, but when people make changes but it still works with the story, those are the ones that I can be a fan of, is they know where they're going and they just change something but it still works with the ultimate goal that they're trying to do. Like, an example of that I think is good is actually Breaking Bad, which is a lot talked about by a lot of people that find it's one of the best shows ever made. I really like it as well. It's one of the best ones. And a thing that Vince Gilligan, who's a writer on the show, did often on that show was he always knew what the end was going to be and whatnot, but he specifically wrote himself into corners. He challenged himself to get out of those corners and to make it work. So he changed stuff as he was going, but his ultimate goal was always still the same. So I think that's similar in terms of what they're doing here in Star Wars. Maybe they're going to change a couple of things like here and there.
Well, they have to now with Carrie Fisher's passing. Something's going to have to happen there. which is very interesting. There's something going to have to happen there.
Yeah, that's one that it's not even. They don't have a choice, right? They have to change.
Here's a question for you: if she doesn't have a moment with Ben, and they needed a moment with Ben, do you CG Leia with Ben?
I don't know. I mean,
I would go back of an actress's head, and something subtle like that. I don't know. We don't know where Kylo Ren goes, so maybe there is no moment like that. I don't know, but I think I feel like there would have something might have been planned for that.
there could have been, but I think ultimately, like where a decision like that comes from, I think it has to come with input from her family. Because if her family says that it's okay and they feel like it's right for the character, then for me, even if I do feel a little bit weirded out and they do a CGI Leia, I feel less need to not like it, because the fact that the people who would be most offended by it are not offended by it, and at that point I'm okay with it.
I wonder how people would react to it, because a lot of people, like Star Wars fans, a lot of them feel one way, but the average moviegoer didn't even notice Tarkin in Rogue One.
No.
They were just like, that guy was good as that old guy. Like, well, I was a cartoon character from the Polar Express. It was no, but I mean,
I've said my piece about that. I didn't like it, but you're right. You're completely right. My friend Jason didn't know.
Yeah, most people didn't know.
Yeah.
A lot of the Star Wars hardcores didn't know, but a lot of the average moviegoers did not know, and they weren't looking for it. That's the thing; they don't go in there looking for it, which is something that we always have to address when we're doing these podcasts.
Yes.
Is that the average moviegoer, what do they notice and what do they not? Because that is what the story group really like. This they have the story group like the Pablo Hidalgos and Leland Cheese who will like the little things. They'll place the little things and be like, no, this ship can't be there. It has to be there. It has to be there. But then you have the brain trust who's like, well, this is the story. It's A to B. That's your story. Because Star Wars is an A to B story. There's not like we go off. The prequels went off a lot, but the ones that everyone talks about is the A to B. It's A to B. It's, Luke, Death Star.
No, absolutely, yeah. And that's the thing is, like, just bringing it up that if they were to CGI Leia again and they tricked so many people in Rogue One that it was a real person, Episode 9 is coming out 3 years after Rogue One, so this technology is going to be even better by then.
I don't think they'll do it, but
you don't think they will
for
do
a
it?
brief moment though, where you need her with Ben Solo or something like that. I don't think like for a whole movie. Like I don't think as much as Tarkin necessarily. I think, but for a small, like Paul Walker instant, like
yeah, absolutely.
I think then okay, there you go.
See, the most interesting thing I heard about this with this story that they say that they had very key scenes with her with Ben, and the fact that I think the other key scene was the reuniting of what they called it, reuniting of Leia with Luke. And the thing I find most interesting about that is that. Are they not gonna have a scene together in Episode 8?
It kind of, if you think about it, it doesn't. It makes sense for them not to have a scene together in Episode 8. If Luke is off training Rey, and we talked about it a couple weeks ago, Brock and I, where maybe they're looking for other Force sensitive people. If that's what the journey for Luke and really this is this about Rey or is it about Luke? That's the question. But if that's Luke's journey in this film, then why would he meet Leia? Maybe they have maybe at the very end the ships are going to go meet each other. Like so everyone's like, oh, they don't meet in this movie, but it might not make sense. Like, don't forget the overall plot of this is not for Han, Leia, and Luke to reunite again. I mean, yeah, that's great. We want it, but it doesn't make sense in The Force Awakens for them, the three of them, to have a moment together.
My ultimate thing that I thought that something like this would have happened was that, number one, Luke has been in hiding. He's been away from everything. And obviously with Rey seeking out Luke, this is her taking him coming out of hiding. She's bringing him back into the fray, right?
Yeah, but what if the whole movie is about him being taken out? Like, think Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, the whole movie, a while for him?
The whole movie is about him on Dagobah, and then he leaves Dagobah at the end, right? There's no after Hoth. He never is with them again until right.
And even for him to be with Han, it's almost like a movie afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, and Hoth isn't even really. Hoth is amazing, but it's barely even part of that movie. You know what I mean? It's 40 minutes or whatever, but it's like they're on Hoth, and then the movie has nothing to do with Hoth anymore. Mm-hmm. Like nothing to do with Hoth anymore.
Yeah.
And so if this movie if Force Awakens is Hoth, you would think.
Yeah.
Then this would be this, and so it'd be Luke and Rey. Luke, Rey, and then whoever they need to find. Then you have Finn, Poe, and Leia doing their thing. And then at the end, at some point, they might come together, but their meeting might not happen until the next movie, and then the next movie could be this big, huge thing.
Perhaps, yeah, that could be it. But I would just think that if she is, in fact, bringing out of the fray, and especially if she was like, hey, Luke, you need to come and, this would never be written this way, right? Johnson would never write it the way I'm about to say it. It would be like, hey, Luke, you gotta come and join us. You gotta fight. And by the way, Han Solo, your friend, is dead, right? And if they're in fact having this funeral in which they're going to be celebrating Han to a certain way, I think it would only be natural that Luke would go to that. But I don't know. I mean,
he might not though because whoa, look at that! Been drinking heavily. He might not though because of circumstances, and the circumstance could be that Snoke and Kylo Ren and the First Order are way too powerful, especially now that the New Republic has been taken out. So I mean, a lot of the First Order has also been taken out, but Snoke and Kylo Ren specifically might be too tough, too strong for Luke to take on his own, and so he needs Rey and possibly more. And so he's like, okay, if we're going to do this, we have to do this right, because before I rushed it and I have a metallic hand. Now we have to do this right.
What if this is just a throwing out way in which you could explain as to why he wouldn't be there? The Falcon was on Starkiller Base, and for all we know, it was unattended to for the longest time. What if in some way Hux or another First Order member place a tracker on it, and the reason why Luke and Rey and whatnot can't go for Han's thing is because a Star Destroyer, a First Order Star Destroyer, is literally right on their tail.
I think it's going to be...
So they have to escape and in some type of way.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to... They definitely were tracked, I think. And I think we're going to see that because the Knights of Ren, I think they're going to show up there and there's going to be a huge battle. I think it's been rumored and reported and stuff like that. That happens over there. So that makes complete sense.
Yeah, like for literally that first, let's say half an hour of the movie is them literally getting off of the First Order's tail because they're on them the whole time. So, and that would just be amazing because that would just be a big parallel to Empire Strikes Back and how Han Solo needs to get away from the Empire too.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Which would be awesome. But
it'd
anyway,
be awesome. But let's get back on track. We just went way off track. Let's get back. We just mentioned though that we said that Luke has to keep Rey on the island to do training because when he stopped his training early, he now has a robotic hand. So somebody pointed out on YouTube, it was a few weeks ago, so forgive me for not remembering who it was exactly, that they show us Luke's metallic hand to remind us that he has a metallic hand, because why would he not have the prosthetic on there? We don't know, but he has a metallic hand. So they're saying that they're showing us that to remind us that it is a fake hand, to push the clone Rey from his hand.
Yeah, there's certainly I think it makes sense also as well, because if he does have just fake skin on there, maybe that would eventually, just deteriorate and whatnot. But yeah, regardless of me thinking that this theory is a little over the top and not thinking that's likely, there's certainly a lot of evidence and a lot of thematical evidence within Force Awakens to make you think that. And again, pushing the fact that she's drawn to the lightsaber,
his memories,
which was, with the hand that is Luke that Luke's hand was touching onto it with, and the fact that they would cut out a scene like that at the beginning with his hand being cut off. Maybe that's just to say, hey, that hand shouldn't be there, because she is a clone of Luke, so that hand should be there. But
I just need a reason for why somebody, Emperor or not, why somebody would want to clone Luke.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm like, of all this, like I said, I'm not for or against anything. I'm trying to understand. Why would someone be like, we should clone Luke? Why wouldn't they clone Anakin?
Oh yeah, you'd think that, yeah, like Emperor goes out of his way to get this damn hand when he literally just can phone up the Darth Vader. Hey, come over here. We're gonna take some blood from you.
Yeah, who is probably more powerful than Luke?
Well, yeah, naturally, like if they never mentioned midichlorian camp, but one would assume since he has half of the DNA of Anakin, Luke only has half the DNA of Anakin, that his midichlorian clamp would naturally be higher than Luke's.
Yeah, I just...
But it's all in the weird thing because there's several people that think that Luke is more powerful than Anakin ever was, and that other
He
people that
could
think
be,
that,
but based on Empire Strikes Back, he's not.
yeah, well, yeah, like,
Right? Like if you tell me the Emperor hit on Bespin to clone Luke's hand, why wouldn't first of all the Emperor just go after Luke like he does in Return of the Jedi? Like why would he even have to go after him in Return of the Jedi if he's cloning his hand?
No, you make a very valid point. There's no reason for him to really want him if he's going to do this and try to even possibly create this perfect version of Luke. And yeah, unless the Emperor is not the one that got the hand, which would make more sense
to me. Yeah, but then is it somebody from the First Order, and then somehow they lost Rey, and Ray was taken. Ray was no, I was gonna say. Rey was taken from the First Order and placed on Jakku as a place to hide her because nobody would ever go there, so they put her on the...
Maybe it's Snoke. Maybe Snoke is the one that, if this theory is true, that he's the one that would clone Rey, and in which why he wants, hey, I'm finally... bring the girl to me. I'm finally going to reacquire her after I lost her for however many years because Luke took her off or her parents took her off or something like that. Or
do you prefer clone Rey as a clone of Luke, Rey Kenobi, Rey Palpatine, Rey Quadraneros, or Rey as a nobody?
Well, you're going to have to leave out Quadraneros because that's my pick. But
which one? No, but of those, of the four, the Palpatine, Kenobi, clone of Luke, or nobody. Or throw in Skywalker. Have five. Throw in the Skywalker. Which one would you prefer, and which one do you think is the most likely?
The one I think is probably most likely is I think it's nobody. Like at least like
I think that's the most interesting one.
Nobody out of the main cast. But if I'm omitting that one and Quadraneros, the one I draw to the most is mostly because of the dynamic that it creates is Palpatine. Because I think it's interesting again to now have on either side a Palpatine and a Skywalker in terms of Kylo's a Skywalker and she's a Palpatine. I think that's the most interesting story element.
See, my thing, I just find that reveal boring.
Yeah, perhaps.
That's the and I say this like again, if they did it, I'd be okay with it, and I'd watch it, and I would love it, and it'd be great. But my problem again is if it happens, how do like average moviegoers feel about that? Like, oh, the Emperor's daughter. Okay, the Emperor was in that one movie with the Ewoks.
Yeah, and Palpatine was like literally for new fans that are just like, hey, I love Force Awakens. This is amazing. I don't care much about the other ones, and they'd be like, Palpatine is her father or grandfather, and was Palpatine even mentioned in Force Awakens?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. And so it's like, okay.
She feels something calling to her when she's fighting Kylo at the end, which we learn from the novelization, and you can kind of see it in her face that there's something happening when they're fighting. And apparently she's being pulled to the dark side or something like that. So that could be Palpatine or Snoke or somebody. So I mean, if she's a Palpatine, that could theoretically be Palpatine from the grave talking to her, which doesn't make any sense because the Sith cannot do that. But anything is possible in the new Star Wars universe.
And in general, if she is in some way descendant of Palpatine, that would just explain her dark side-ish tendencies that seem to happen here, because Palpatine's blood, figuratively, is flowing through her veins, and she feels that natural pull over there, even though she has been influenced perhaps by the light side completely. I mean, the other one that I've heard that has been talked about in the latest book, Empire's End, was that there's a theory in which that Jakku is this natural, I don't know if, spoilers, that Jakku is this natural force type of...
It's an observatory, and what happens? Kashu dies and does something. Anyway, shrouded by... I can't remember, it was read it a month ago. Mm-hmm. It's shrouded in the dark side, though.
It's shrouded in the dark side?
It is covered in...
Oh, okay. I thought I heard that it was shrouded in the light side, that it was... just shrouded in the Force in terms of, and
I believe it's the dark side because Tashu does something and it blows up, and then there's this whole.
Or regardless, this is the thing I heard that it was like a theory in which, because Rey has been on that planet for such a long time, she just naturally absorbing the powers of the Force in some type.
Why wouldn't anybody else? Why wouldn't that happen to anybody else?
Well, perhaps because she may have been Force sensitive.
Is Unkar Plutt a Jedi?
Simon Pegg's a Jedi, finally.
Anything's possible in this day and age.
Yeah.
So Rey is a clone of Luke, or she's been on there and she's got some kind of weird radiation to the light. She's getting forced by radiation. There's so many wacky things.
She's gonna turn green at some point. She's
Yeah.
gonna be like, Rey smash.
You know what? Whatever she is, like I said, is fine. But I really kind of like, what if she's just a nobody who was left on there? She has force powers. She's force sensitive. She wants to be trained as a Jedi. The thing is, and I know people have brought this up, that when Kylo Ren reads her mind, he unlocks things and she learns how to do the mind trick. That is there's still a flaw of the movie, is a Jedi mind trick. And even to extent her picking up the lightsaber with the Force, because she has never been taught how to use any of that stuff. So the skill just kind of naturally comes. So I think the problem with her being a nobody is that at some point, and I think we all accepted when we first saw it, that she was trained at a young age as a Jedi. But now it's kind of seeing like maybe she wasn't trained at a young age as a Jedi. Maybe she's just a nobody who somehow was able to do this magically because Kylo Ren opened her mind. And I guess she saw how he did it. That's the problem I have with it, is that how does Rey do these things?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a big question as to her big Force vision too, in terms of everything that she saw there, right? Like one of the things that she sees is, of course, the Knights of Ren, and they're killing. I forget who that's supposed to be.
I don't think anyone knows.
Nobody knows. Okay, but regardless, is that a memory in terms that she was there, or is she seeing the future? Or
I think a lot of people are pointing to it being the future. I'm not sure if it's said anywhere.
it's also possible that perhaps she was not there and she just seeing it as a Force vision.
Yeah.
Because part of the other things that she saw is that she saw Cloud City, which is another thing I think that's defending this whole her being a clone of his hand.
You know, but you say defending the clone of the hand. Any of these theories, you can find evidence to support.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Except for the Quaternaros one. But
we will find one.
But you can find evidence to support any of these theories.
No, absolutely. And see, this is the thing. I think you were on the same page. That over for the last little while, I've been a proponent of Snoke is Snoke. Snoke is who he is. He's not somebody that we knew before, at least not a big person that we knew before, and that he is who he is, and that Rey is perhaps just a Force-sensitive person that is not related to anybody that is Force-sensitive or is a big character. But the thing that's been changing for me is that and going back to this idea that they may change something in terms of everything that's come out, is that there's been all these theories about both of these things. And imagine how upset some of these people would be that have all these theories that would be like, that is just nothing, right? That's nothing at all. So, and especially for both these things just turn out being nothing. So that's kind of making me think that maybe one of these two scenarios in terms of what is Rey's lineage and who is Snoke, it's going to turn out being a big reveal of some kind. One of them will be. Which one it is, I'm not sure, but I kind of feel like one of them is going to turn into being a big deal. I don't think it's going to be both of them. I think one of them is just going to be something small, but one of them is going to be a big reveal, I think. That's what I'm starting to think because of the way everything's going.
Okay. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, what do you think that there's a possibility of one of them being a big reveal, and which one do you think is more likely?
I think it would be really interesting and ballsy if neither one of them were a big reveal and they were just like, guess what? They're characters in the movie. That's it. And the reveal is at the end of the movie when you find out that I don't know. Maybe neither one of them is a big movie. Maybe Snoke is Snoke, and he's just like, hey, I was living in the unknown regions. I tried to communicate to you guys. You guys thought I was something, but I'm not. I'm just this guy. I'm pretty smart. I can put together things, and now let's take over this galaxy because I've already taken over that galaxy and that galaxy. Now I want to take over this galaxy. He could be like, what's his name in X-Men or Galactus. Right? Galactus, the eater of worlds.
Oh yes.
Only he's eater of only he's the eater of universes and galaxies, and he's Snoke, and that's what he is, and that could be his thing. And Rey could just be a girl whose parents were like, man, there's something weird going on with her. Let's leave her on this planet and never look back. And then they drop her off there, and they're like, "We'll come back for you, we promise." But they're really like, "No, this is crazy. I don't want to be anywhere near her." And they fly away, and that could be it. And
so is that what episode 9 is? The finale is going to be they're all in Jakku, and then the big cloud is coming towards them. That is Snoke.
No, but it could easily it could be as simple as that, and there would be nothing wrong with either of those. And I feel like, even if you did either of those, people would not really be upset because it's not like, because if you go, you're a Palpatine, the Skywalker people are like, oh man, you're a Skywalker. The Palpatine side's like, damn it, you know, you're a Kenobi. People are just like, oh, why is she?
So do you think that, because this is a part of the other thing, is I feel like whether it's going to be in episode 8 or episode 9, there is going to be some type of big revelation, I think, in some type of way. Perhaps it's not going to be this, and perhaps it's going to be something else that's been introduced that we're not even thinking about, or something that's going to be introduced in episode 8 that's going to pay off in episode 9 as a big, huge reveal. But either way, I feel like that reveal, some type of big reveal, is going to come in one of these movies. And perhaps, I mean, the easy way out would for it to be one of those two, where it's like Snoke is Sifo Dyas or something like that. Or,
that would be cool. But here's the thing, though, is any reveal now, you can't have a big reveal anymore. You can't. The reason, and I said this a few weeks ago on Unleashed on the Finn is for a sensitive one, question mark, is what I said was when Vader did the reveal to Luke that he was his father, nobody was expecting it because we already accepted.
They told you that his father was dead.
Yeah, we've accepted. We accepted that Vader killed all the Jedi and Luke's father was a Jedi who died. We accepted it. So when it happened, we're like, oh, what? Mm-hmm. Whereas now, we haven't got anything. There's nothing to accept. So in a reveal, we're already anticipating. So there can't be a big shock unless it comes from something completely out of left field, which is very possible because we know so little. We don't even know what The Last Jedi is about.
What do you think of the possibility for them to pull another, A New Hope and become an Empire Strikes Back reveal, in that we found out in episode 8 that her parents are nobodies, but then we find in episode 9 that her parents aren't nobodies and that it is, in fact, Luke or something like that.
Yeah, that would be a way to do it, but then you're tricking us. So why are her parents nobody? They can even come out and be like, the people that left you on, like, you'd have to word it in a way and do it in a way where you're not lying to us. Because when you lie to us, then that reveal is cheap too. Because now we feel, okay, you lied to us just so you can give us a twist. That's not how you do a twist.
Right.
That's like how Walking Dead started doing stories.
Well, I guess it's because nobody was expecting it as a twist and whatnot. But I mean, if Luke was the one to say that your parents were these people and they died or something like that, right?
And he couldn't tell her the truth because of whatever.
Yeah, like, and then he's just literally like, I'm dressing like Ben Kenobi. I might as well just start quoting him and say that your father's dead, and when it's really Darth Vader or whatnot, right? Like how he does it.
If he's doing it to continue to protect her going forward, okay, that's not necessarily a lie, and that's a story point. Mm-hmm. So that could be accepted.
And then, like, if it is, like, a lot of people are anticipating where it's going to be, hey, Luke is not going to die in episode 8. He's going to die in episode 9. And on his...
What if he doesn't die?
He may not die, but I'm just saying...
I don't think he has to die.
He might not. I mean...
He might die at the very beginning of The Last Jedi. Could you imagine?
Here's your lightsaber.
Yeah. Well, we know that doesn't happen from the leaked trailer, but anyway.
But yes, going back to that, it's like... if he was to die at the end of episode 9 and that was just his ultimate reveal, it's like, hey, I am your father, by the way, and whatnot. And even though he told her that these people were your father and your parents in some type of way, would that be a satisfying reveal, you think, to some people? Or would that be, like you said, just anger people in terms of like, why didn't you say this right away? I just think it would be a nice way to acknowledge what Ben did to him, and perhaps in some type of way acknowledging that he does believe that what Ben told him was.
I think if
right.
Luke or somebody like that is her father, that information needs to be given to us pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
If her parents or anybody else, then we can wait and learn that later on. But I think if it is Luke, you can't have him, like, they've met. We're all waiting for the reveal, right? Mm-hmm. You can't not give the reveal at that point. You have to just be like, by the way, you're my daughter. It's on. But he says, who are you? He asks her who she is. Now, he could be saying, who are you? And it could be in like who are you? Who have you become type of a way. We don't know how he says it. We haven't heard it. We just know what he says. So
maybe it's just something within the Jedi's DNA in terms of these Jedis that are just ostracized and, you know, kept away from people for such a long time that as soon as somebody comes, they're chronic liars and they just start lying.
Yeah, from a certain point of view, which is a certain point of view is actually referencing.
Because Yoda doesn't even tell
Empire
Luke that Darth Vader is his father or anything like that. Like, he's very sketchy in terms of his facts.
Well,
now it's like
Yoda can't tell Luke is his father because he has to face Vader. So if he faces him and he knows it's his father at that moment, then he probably something will change. And maybe he's afraid he will turn to the dark side.
But even though Yoda's a liar because he doesn't tell him he's Yoda right off the bat. He's like, oh, I'm this guy. I'll take you to Yoda.
Yoda's awesome. Can we get a Yoda I don't want a Yoda standalone movie, but Old Republic, Snoke, Rey, Yoda. We talk about the Old Republic, how it could be Snoke and Rey way back. So final thoughts. Who do you think what is the best way for Star Wars to go with Rey? From the Rob point of view. Because guess what? Nobody at Lucasfilm cares.
No,
they don't care what I think.
I hope somebody that's watching cares, but
people will. And we want to know what you guys think too. What's the best route
Absolutely.
for them to take? What do you think the best route for them to take Rey is?
You know, I think I've convinced myself just by doing it. I think it'd be just a cool story element in terms of that he's borrowing from Obi-Wan. I think it would be cool if, in fact, it's like I said, where they reveal that her parents are nobodies, but she is force sensitive, and whether he tells her that she's not force sensitive. You came to my school, you did all this, and I saved you as the only one that was that I could save that was from the school, and dropped you off on Jakku. And then ultimately the reveal is that he is actually her father and that he shacked up with Mara Jade.
Look, Mara Jade showing up at some point. I think so.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll end there.
Yeah. Why
You
not?
go with that one?
Yeah, let's do that.
That's where we're going to end this show. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time right here
Give
on
us a thumbs
Unleashed.
up.
Yeah, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to us, please. We like it. We like talking about Star Wars. Anything you want to hear mentioned on Unleashed or the main show, let us know in the comments below. We'll see you next time.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.